Okay, picture this. You're trying to describe that icky feeling you get when someone's been really mean, or you just have a bad vibe about someone. Turns out, there's a whole dictionary of words for that. They're all kinda in the same ballpark, feeling bad will towards someone, but each one has its own little flavor, its own way of describing that yucky feeling. Let's stroll through them, super casually, and figure out what each one brings to the table. First off, let's hit the heavy hitters. These are your serious stink-eye words. Think malevolence and malignity. These are like pure evil vibes. We're talking movie villain levels of bad intent. Like someone who's not just annoyed at you, but actually wants to wreck your life. You wouldn't use these for your everyday neighborly squabble, right? Too intense. Think more, Darth Vader level bad. Then you've got rancor. This is like anger that's gone stale. It's old, it's deep, and it's been simmering for ages. Imagine families feuding for generations. That's rancor. It's not a fresh, hot anger, it's like a long-term, low-grade bitterness. You wouldn't use it for being annoyed someone cut you off in traffic, 'cause that's way too light. Next, let's talk about enmity and hatred. These are your straight-up, can't-stand-you feelings. Enmity sounds a bit more formal, maybe like countries hating each other. Hatred? Well, hate is hate. It's strong, it's simple, it's that gut feeling of really, really disliking someone. You wouldn't say you hate your toast being burnt, right? Hate is for when you have some seriously bad feelings about a person or group. And when that hatred comes out in words. That's vitriol. Vitriol is like acid words, super harsh and cutting. Think online arguments gone nuclear, full of vitriol. You wouldn't use it for just disagreeing with someone. Vitriol is meant to hurt. And if that vitriol is really nasty, really poisonous, you could even call it virulence. Like, the negativity is so strong it's almost toxic, spreading harm around. Again, too much for just a little tiff. Okay, stepping down the intensity ladder a bit, we get to the revenge zone with vindictiveness. This is when you're all about getting even. Someone does you wrong, and vindictiveness is that burning desire to make them pay, maybe even more than they deserve. Think revenge plots in movies. That's vindictiveness in action. You wouldn't say you're being vindictive if you just ask for an apology. Vindictiveness is about wanting punishment. And if you're actually doing the bad stuff, acting out of pure evil intent, that's maleficence. It's the act of doing harm, not just wishing it. Sounds kind of formal, right? Yeah, 'cause it's a serious word for serious bad actions. Now, let's get a little pettier. Spite is like the king of childish meanness. It's doing something just to annoy someone, even if it's silly or pointless. Like hiding someone's phone charger just 'cause you're in a mood. Spiteful actions are often small and kinda dumb, but they're still fueled by a desire to be unpleasant. And if you're someone who always acts like this, always trying to annoy people, you're described as having spitefulness as part of your personality. Too light for describing serious harm. Spite is about petty irritation. Then we have malice. This is like wanting to do bad stuff, but maybe not on a supervillain scale like malevolence. Malice is still about ill intent, but maybe a bit more personal and less world domination. Why? Like, someone spreading rumors about you out of malice, they want to hurt your reputation, but they're not plotting world takeover. If someone's actions are consistently driven by this kind of intent, we'd say they have maliciousness. It's a personality thing, always looking for chances to be a bit mean. Moving into general unpleasantness, we've got nastiness. Nastiness is just being generally unkind, rude, and disagreeable. It's a pretty common, everyday kind of bad behavior. Someone with a nasty tone of voice, or a nasty look, it's just overall unpleasant. Too mild for describing real evil. Nastiness is just everyday rudeness. Let's talk about general bad vibes now. Ill will and ill feeling are your basic, all-purpose terms for not liking someone. Just bad vibes, unfriendly feelings. There's ill will between them, simple and gets the point across. Animosity is a step up from ill will. It's stronger, more active dislike, maybe with some tension or open opposition. Think rival teams in sports, there's animosity there. Antagonism is similar to animosity, but even more about actively being against someone, opposing them. Like political parties, they have antagonism towards each other. And hostility is just being generally unfriendly and maybe even a little aggressive. You can feel hostility in the air after an argument. These are all good for describing general bad vibes, but less good for pinpointing a specific intense emotion. Now, let's dig into some more emotional flavors. Bitterness is like a deep-down sadness mixed with anger, often from disappointment or feeling like life's been unfair. Imagine someone who didn't get the job they really wanted, and they're now just bitter about it. It's a long-lasting, kind of sad and resentful feeling. Embitterment is the process of becoming bitter over time, like life just keeps throwing you curveballs and you get more and more cynical and bitter as a result. Sourness, like bitterness, can be about a taste, but also a mood or personality. A sour person is grumpy, negative, always complaining, a bit like a sourpuss. These are all about longer-lasting, internal feelings, not so much outward actions. If you feel unfairly treated, that's resentment. It's that feeling of being wronged and being angry about it. Imagine you worked super hard on a project, but someone else got all the credit. You'd probably feel resentment. It's tied to a sense of injustice. Then there's grudgingness. This is when you're reluctant to give or share because you're feeling negative or resentful. It's not about being actively mean, but about being stingy in spirit, unwilling to be generous. Like someone being grudging with praise because they're jealous. It's more about a lack of generosity than outright hatred. For arguments and harsh words, we've got acrimony. Acrimony is when conversations get really bitter and sharp, full of nasty accusations and harsh language. Think divorce proceedings that are full of acrimony, lots of bitter fighting. And if someone's humor is super sharp and cutting, they might have causticity or mordacity. These are all about sarcasm that stings, humor that's a bit mean and biting. Then we have those more old-fashioned, almost dramatic words for anger, bile and spleen. Bile is like really intense anger and bitterness, like a stomach-churning rage. Spleen is similar, an old-timey word for bad temper and spite. These are pretty strong, maybe a bit over the top for everyday chats. And gall, while it can mean bitterness like bile, more often it means being super bold and rude, like having the nerve to do something outrageous. Lastly, we've got the mildest forms of dislike. Dislike is just your basic, not a fan feeling. I dislike Mondays. Pretty weak. Antipathy and aversion are stronger than dislike, suggesting a deeper, more ingrained aversion. Antipathy is like a serious dislike. Aversion is more about actively avoiding something you really don't like. And then there's bitchiness and cattiness. Honestly, these are kinda outdated and often used in a pretty sexist way to describe women being petty or gossipy. It's way better to just say spiteful or nasty if you mean that kind of petty unkindness, and skip those words altogether. So, there you have it. A whole bunch of words for feeling bad vibes, from supervillain evil to just being a bit grumpy. It's all about picking the right flavor of yuck to get your meaning across. Hope that clears things up in a chill way.